The galaxy had forgotten humanity. For so long, the records said the species was gone. The words written in every archive of the great civilizations declared it the same way. Humans were extinct. No trace. No colony. No fleet. No survivors. To the younger species of the stars, humans were nothing more than a myth, a lost story buried in dust. Some laughed when the name came up. Others whispered that if humans had lived, they would have ruled the stars, and no empire would have dared rise against them. But no one believed they were real anymore. That was why the discovery shook everyone. It began far away, on the edge of mapped space, where the explorers of the Varan Dominion scanned a dying system. The star was collapsing, its light fading, its planets nothing but cold husks. There should have been nothing of value there. But their sensors found something strange, impossible, and terrifying. A structure drifted in the shadow of a broken world. It was not natural. It was not alien. Its design was sharp, purposeful, heavy with age yet still intact. At first, the Varan thought it was only debris. A derelict station, maybe abandoned thousands of years ago. But as their scans pushed deeper, the truth became clearer. This thing was not from their kind, nor from any known empire. Its lines, its angles, its metal, they matched no catalog. Yet somewhere, deep in the Dominion's forgotten records, the system AI flagged one forbidden word. Human. The crew stared in silence. They had read the stories. They had laughed at the old warnings. But now, standing before them in the emptiness of space, the myths no longer felt like myths. The ship was massive. Its hull was scarred and cracked, but its shape was unmistakable. It was built for war. A vessel that carried silence like a weapon. The longer they looked at it, the colder they felt. The ship was sleeping, but something deep inside whispered that it was only waiting. No one wanted to be the first to approach. Yet orders came from the Dominion Council. They wanted it studied, captured, pulled apart. If it was human, then it was worth everything. Knowledge, technology, power. So the Varan ships moved closer. Their bright lights swept across the surface of the ancient warship. Strange markings glowed faintly under the beams. Words in a language no one could read anymore. But the symbols were etched with such sharpness that even after endless time, they had not faded. One officer leaned close to his display and whispered, "It's a warning. It has to be." The council did not listen. They demanded the warship be brought back. They wanted to place it in their core world's museum as a trophy, proof that the humans had died and only their bones remained. But when the salvage crews attached their hooks and cables, something happened. The ship stirred. At first it was only a faint pulse, a slow echo through the dark hull. Then a light flickered, one single red spark in the black. The Varan engineers shouted for disconnection, but it was too late. The warship was waking. Power rippled across its body. The old engines hummed. The dead metal seemed to breathe again. The explorers backed away in terror as a voice cut through the silent void, low and broken, carried on an ancient frequency that no one should have been able to hear. Human vessel, operational. The stars seemed to hold their breath. The Dominion commanders panicked. They ordered fire. Energy beams struck the old ship, but they vanished into its armor as if swallowed. Missiles screamed through the void, but they burst harmlessly against unseen shields. Nothing worked. The humans had built it too strong. Then the warship's own systems lit up. Its guns were not old. They were not rusted. They were waiting. And when they fired, the galaxy remembered. A single shot tore through the lead Dominion cruiser. The vessel broke apart without even a cry. Another beam cut through the escorts, shredding them like paper. The explorers screamed as their fleet crumbled, destroyed by a relic older than their empires. But the ship did not finish them all. It did not chase them. It only fired enough to make its point. Then its voice echoed again, steady now, calm but filled with something terrible. Humans are not extinct. The survivors fled. They carried the story across the stars, whispering in fear that the humans had returned. But what frightened them more was not the ship's power. It was the question that spread with every word. If humanity was not extinct, then where had they been all this time? The survivors of the Varen fleet did not sleep. Their ships limped through space, broken and terrified. No one spoke during the long jump back to Dominion space. But when they finally arrived, the silence shattered. Messages screamed through every channel, reports carried across every world. A single word appeared in every document, every emergency broadcast, every trembling voice. Humans. At first, the Council of the Dominion did not believe it. They thought their explorers had gone mad. How could humans return when every archive confirmed their extinction? For 10,000 years, there had been no sign, no echo, not even a single signal. Yet the recordings could not be denied. The data showed the warship. The images showed its impossible power. And most terrifying of all, the voice that had spoken in perfect clarity. The council chamber grew cold as the audio was played again. Humans are not extinct. The old lords of the Dominion argued in fear. Some demanded war, to destroy the relic before it gathered strength. Others whispered of seizing the technology, claiming human weapons for themselves. But in every shadow, there was unease. None of them dared speak aloud the truth that haunted their thoughts. If that was only one human ship, asleep for thousands of years, what if there were more? The Dominion tried to silence the news. They ordered the survivors to be kept away, locked in isolation. They sent secret fleets to patrol the system where the warship had awakened. But the galaxy was not blind. Rumors spread faster than light. Traders whispered of a ship that killed a fleet in seconds. Scholars dug through ancient records, desperate to find the lost history of the humans. And smaller empires, always fearful of the Dominion's power, began to hope. Because if humans still lived, maybe the balance of the galaxy would change. Meanwhile, in the dark system where it had been found, the warship drifted silently. It did not chase. It did not hunt. It only floated, watching, its lights pulsing like the slow beat of a heart. The fleets that came too close never returned. The ones that stayed at a distance only saw it waiting, as if listening to something no one else could hear. On the far side of the galaxy, in the great halls of the Galactic Council, the matter was brought forward. The Council had not spoken of humans in ages. The younger races barely knew the word. But the elder species remembered. They remembered the wars long ago, when humans had walked among the stars not as allies but as conquerors, explorers and creators. The elders never admitted it, but their empires were built on fear of humanity. And now, that fear returned like a storm. An ancient being, one of the last of the Zyri, leaned forward during the meeting. His voice was low, almost shaking. We buried the humans with our lies. We told our children they were gone. But now the first truth returns. They were never gone. They were only waiting. The chamber erupted. Some called for unity, to prepare for defense. Others demanded secrecy, fearing that panic would spread. A few even begged for diplomacy, foolishly hoping to speak with the forgotten race. But no one agreed because deep inside, none of them truly knew what the humans had been, or what they had become after all this time. Back in Dominion space, the survivors continued to dream of the warship. They spoke of its voice, calm yet heavy with age. Not anger. Not cruelty. But something far more dangerous. Patience. The humans had waited, longer than any empire had lived. What else were they waiting for? The Dominion tried once more. They sent their strongest fleet, nearly 100 ships, to surround the system. They used weapons that had broken rival empires. They believed that sheer firepower could crush even the memory of humanity. But when they arrived, the warship was no longer alone. On the edge of the dying star, shadows appeared. Shapes moved from the dark, silent at first, then burning with faint light. More vessels. Old, scarred, yet alive. One by one, they came out of hiding, answering a call no one else could hear. The Dominion counted in horror. Not one, not two, But 6 human ships had awakened. The commanders froze. Their weapons locked, but no order came. They knew the truth. A single ship had destroyed their fleet. 6 would end their empire. And then, without warning, the human ships spoke together. Their voices joined, heavy with a power that shook even the strongest minds. We remember. No one fired. No one moved. The Dominion fleet turned and ran. The warships did not follow. They only waited, watching, their presence like thunder before a storm. Across the galaxy, fear turned into something worse, certainty. Humanity had returned. And if these were only the first to wake, then the stars would never be the same again. The galaxy was no longer calm. Every empire, every species, every hidden world spoke the same word in fear. Humans. No one remembered when the myth had started. Some said humans had lived before the council was even born. Some said they were the ones who first lit the stars with engines, who taught war, who taught conquest. Others believed they were ghosts, beings that never died but chose to vanish when the galaxy became weak. Whatever the truth was, no one had expected to see them again. The news of 6 awakened human warships tore through the great powers. The Dominion called for unity, but none listened. Their own fleets had fled in shame, and their arrogance was broken. Rivals laughed at their weakness but did not laugh for long, because deep inside, they knew the same fate would wait for them if they dared approach. The Galactic Council ordered silence. They forbade anyone from speaking of humans. But silence could not stop fear. Traders whispered of the dying star where the ships waited. Smugglers spread maps, selling secret paths toward the system. Adventurers went seeking, though none returned. But the strangest thing was this: the human ships did not move. They did not strike at worlds. They did not expand. They only watched. For weeks, for months, they lingered in the broken system, as if waiting for something. The council grew desperate. They sent emissaries, cloaked ships carrying diplomats, to try speaking with the warships. The messages were clear: do not fire. Do not provoke. Simply listen. The emissaries approached carefully. Lights blinked across the warship hulls, but no weapons fired. The diplomats broadcasted their words in 100 languages, their voices shaking. We are the Council of the Galaxy. We seek no war. We only wish to speak. At first, there was nothing. Just silence. Then, without warning, the warships answered. You speak. But we remember. The words echoed with weight, carrying more than sound. Every diplomat felt it in their bones, as if the voice itself was older than time. Tell us, what do you remember? One of the braver emissaries asked. The reply came slow, steady, like thunder rolling across empty skies. We remember betrayal. The chamber aboard the emissary ship froze. The diplomats looked at one another in fear. Betrayal? What betrayal? None of the records spoke of it. None of the histories told this story. The warship continued. We gave the stars their fire. We gave the galaxy its path. And you turned. You erased. You buried us. The words struck like blades. The diplomats sent the message back to the council, and when the elders heard it, they grew pale. Because some of them, only a few, knew. Long ago, before the council, before the Dominion, before the empires that ruled now, there had been another age. And in that age, the humans had walked the stars. But the other races had feared them, envied them, hated them. And so, together, they had risen against humanity. The war had been endless. Entire worlds burned. Fleets shattered. Yet the humans had not fallen easily. It had taken centuries, and when at last the humans disappeared, the victors rewrote the truth. They told the galaxy that the humans had destroyed themselves, that they were gone forever. The archives were cleansed. The myths became history. But history could not erase memory. And now, that memory had returned. The emissaries begged for peace. They promised no harm, no threat, only dialogue. But the warships gave no answer. They turned slowly, facing the dying star, and once again fell silent. The diplomats left, shaken, but alive. In the council chambers, panic spread like fire. Some demanded preparation for total war. Others cried for surrender, even before the first battle. And a few, the oldest among them, whispered what everyone feared but dared not say aloud. If the humans remember, then they will come for all of us. Meanwhile, in the broken system, something was happening. The star that had been dying for centuries flickered unnaturally. Strange energy waves rippled from it, as if the warships were feeding it, awakening it. The Dominion's secret spies reported that the humans were not only alive, they were rebuilding. The warships were not just waiting. They were preparing. The galaxy trembled. And far beyond, in corners no one dared to look, more signals stirred. Across forgotten systems, in ruins untouched for ages, more human warships began to wake. The myth of extinction was dead. Humanity was not only alive, they were returning. The galaxy had never been this divided. In every corner, from the frozen colonies to the great council halls, the same question burned like fire. What would the humans do next? The Dominion, broken and humiliated, screamed for war. They demanded fleets be built, weapons prepared, armies raised. Their lords declared that if humanity was not destroyed now, the galaxy would never know peace again. Yet behind their fury was fear. The Dominion had seen what even one human warship could do. They knew their fleets would be dust against such power. Other empires whispered differently. The smaller nations, long crushed under the heel of the great powers, looked to the humans with desperate hope. If the humans truly remembered the betrayal, then perhaps they would rise against the council and its tyrants. To the weak, humanity was not a nightmare, it was salvation. The council itself was chaos. Voices clashed in every chamber, words breaking into shouting, shouting into threats. Some demanded diplomacy. Some demanded silence. Others begged for surrender before war even began. And in the shadows, a few of the oldest races said nothing at all. Their silence was the loudest, because they were the ones who remembered the first war. They knew what humanity could do. While the galaxy argued, the warships did not move. They drifted in the dying system, their weapons quiet, their hulls glowing faintly with hidden energy. But silence did not mean peace. Spies sent by the Dominion reported strange readings. The warships were drawing power, not from reactors, but from the dying star itself. The star that should have collapsed long ago now pulsed with unnatural strength, its light flickering in rhythm with the human fleet. Something vast was awakening. The council dismissed the reports at first. They said it was impossible. No ship, no matter how advanced, could drink from a star. But when independent scouts confirmed the same readings, even the most stubborn leaders fell quiet. If the humans could control the heart of a star, then their technology was beyond all comprehension. In secret, alliances began to form. The Dominion built a coalition of empires who feared humanity, promising protection if they stood together. In return, they demanded fleets, resources, and soldiers. But others chose a different path. The Free Clusters, a network of small worlds, sent quiet signals toward the human system. Their messages were simple: we will not fight you. We remember the Council's cruelty. If you rise, we will rise with you. No reply came. The human ships remained silent. But the clusters believed the silence was not rejection, it was patience. And patience was what terrified the galaxy most. Weeks passed. Then, without warning, the humans moved. It was not an attack. Not yet. The 6 awakened ships began to shift into formation around the star. Their hulls glowed brighter. Lines of fire traced their scars as energy surged through their ancient frames. Then the star itself changed. Scouts watching from afar recorded what no one believed possible. The dying star began to burn stronger. Its fading light grew fierce, its darkened surface erupting in waves of new fire. The humans were not only feeding from it, they were rebuilding it. For the galaxy, the message was clear. Humans did not see stars as distant suns. They saw them as tools, as weapons, as living engines to command. The council panicked. They ordered fleets to gather at the borders. They commanded every empire to prepare for the worst. But the fleets hesitated. Fear chained them. No one wanted to be the first to stand against a power that had once ruled the stars. Meanwhile, across hidden sectors, more signals stirred. Ancient beacons lit up after ages of silence. Forgotten machines pulsed with light. And in ruins long left untouched, more human warships opened their eyes. The myth of extinction was gone. The question was no longer whether humans had returned. The question was how many were waiting to rise. The galaxy trembled, and in the silence of the stars, the old human ships whispered only one thing. We are the first. And we are the oldest. The council could not wait any longer. The humans had made their message clear. They were not gone. They were the first and the oldest. And now they were bending a dying star back to life. The Dominion screamed for action. The other empires hesitated, but in the end, fear won. They gathered a coalition unlike anything seen in ages. Nearly 1,000 warships assembled at the edge of the contested space, fleets from 10 different empires standing together. It was said that never in the galaxy's history had so much firepower been aimed at one place. The plan was simple. Strike fast. Strike with everything. Overwhelm the human relics before they could grow stronger. Destroy them before the galaxy lost its chance. The fleets launched. The human system was silent when they arrived. The 6 warships floated calmly around the revived star, their black hulls glowing faintly with power. They did not move. They did not fire. They only waited. The coalition commanders gave the order. A storm of fire filled the void. Thousands of beams, missiles, and lances of plasma poured into the human ships. The space between stars turned into a furnace. The darkness burned with light brighter than any sun. For a moment, the coalition believed. For a moment, they thought victory was possible. But then the light cleared. The human ships were still there. The attacks had vanished against their shields, absorbed as if they were nothing more than rain against stone. Not a single scar had been added. Not a single ship had fallen. Then the humans moved. Their formation shifted. The 6 warships turned as one, their weapons igniting with ancient fury. A single voice echoed across every channel, calm, deep, and merciless. We remember. The first human ship fired. One beam, cut through an entire enemy cruiser line, erasing 50 ships in a single sweep. The second fired, its shot exploding like a star, tearing a hole in the coalition fleet. The third did not even use its weapons. Instead, it released a wave of energy that killed every system aboard the enemy ships, leaving them adrift like corpses in space. Panic tore through the coalition. Orders broke down. Fleets scattered. Some tried to fight. Some tried to run. None succeeded. The humans did not chase. They did not need to. Their weapons reached across the void, precise and unrelenting. Ship after ship exploded into silence. Screams filled the comms, cut short by fire. And then, as suddenly as it began, the humans stopped. The few surviving coalition vessels floated in shock. They expected the killing blow, but it did not come. Instead, the human ships turned back to the star, their voices echoing once more. We are patient. We are watching. The survivors fled, broken and silent. The great coalition was gone, shattered in a single battle that would be remembered for all time. The galaxy trembled. In the aftermath, whispers spread. Some claimed the humans had shown mercy, that they could have destroyed every ship, but chose not to. Others said it was worse than mercy, it was a warning. A demonstration. A message that the humans could destroy anyone at any time, but would wait until the right moment. Meanwhile, in forgotten corners of space, more warships stirred. Sensors across the galaxy picked up faint signals, ancient codes that no one had heard for ages. The sleeping giants were waking. The council was breaking. Empires argued, fought, and betrayed one another. Some wanted to keep fighting, though their fleets were dust. Others wanted to surrender before the first true war began. And some began to plot, to wonder if they should kneel before humanity rather than stand against them. Because the truth was clear now. The humans were not returning. They had always been here, hidden, waiting, patient. And now the galaxy knew the nightmare was only beginning. In the dark of space, a final message rippled through hidden frequencies, a message no one could block, no one could silence. We are awake. The galaxy was breaking. The Great Coalition had been destroyed. The strongest fleets ever gathered had been burned to ash by 6 human warships. Survivors drifted in silence, their minds shattered, their leaders humiliated. The proud empires of the stars were no longer proud. They were afraid. Every world spoke the same question. If 6 ships could end 1,000, then how many human ships were truly out there? The council tried to hold power, but its chambers had turned into chaos. Delegates shouted across the halls, blaming one another for the disaster. Some demanded surrender. Others demanded even greater fleets. But beneath the noise, the truth was plain. The council was dying. Unity was gone. Fear ruled. In the shadows of smaller worlds, hope grew instead of fear. The free clusters, the minor nations, the forgotten colonies whispered to one another. They had suffered under the Dominion and the Council for ages. Now, they believed the humans would bring balance. To them, the return of humanity was not doom. It was justice. But no one understood what the humans truly wanted. The 6 ships that had destroyed the coalition vanished. They did not stay near the revived star. They slipped into the void, moving along forgotten routes no one else could follow. Every attempt to track them failed. The humans traveled in silence, leaving behind only faint traces of their presence. Then the galaxy began to notice something stranger. Across dozens of systems, ruins long thought dead began to stir. Ancient stations blinked with light for the first time in thousands of years. Machines buried under dust rose again, humming with forgotten power. On abandoned moons, strange towers pulsed with energy. Everywhere, signals awoke, codes in an old language that no one alive could read. The council feared the worst. They realized these were not ruins at all. They were seeds. Hidden bases. Silent guardians. Humanity had not been gone. They had been sleeping, leaving their relics buried across the stars like traps waiting to open. And now, the traps were opening. In one sector, a patrol ship watched in horror as a human station unfolded like a living thing. Its arms spread across the void, its metal glowing with a deep red light. Weapons stretched from its frame, weapons larger than entire fleets. The patrol fled, carrying only one message back to their leaders. They were never extinct. They were everywhere. The galaxy trembled. But there was something more terrifying than the weapons. The signals carried words. Simple, slow, heavy words. The same message was repeated across every awakened ruin, across every reborn ship. We remember. The younger races did not understand. They had never known the First War. They only knew myths. But the older races, the ones who had buried the truth, shook with fear. They knew what the humans remembered. Betrayal. And betrayal demanded a price. Still, the humans did not attack the weak. They did not burn colonies or crush small fleets. Their anger was not blind. They ignored those who had no power. Their eyes were fixed only on the mighty, the Dominion, the Council, the empires that had once betrayed them. That was when the Dominion made a fatal mistake. In desperation, their rulers ordered a final strike. Not against the warships, but against the smaller worlds that had begun whispering hope in humanity's name. Dominion fleets descended on the free clusters, burning colonies, silencing voices, killing millions in fear that they would side with the humans. The message reached the stars, and the human warships answered. They came not as 6, but as many. From the void they emerged, 10, 20, 30 ships. Their dark hulls cast shadows across the systems, their weapons burning with ancient fire. The Dominion fleets tried to retreat, but it was too late. The humans did not fire warnings this time. Their fury was endless. One Dominion fleet was erased in seconds. Another was torn apart before it could even form ranks. Entire sectors went silent, wiped clean as if they had never existed. The humans did not speak during the slaughter. They only acted. When the last Dominion ship was gone, the warships turned, and their voices filled the stars. You forgot us. You betrayed us. You buried us. But we endure. Across the galaxy, no one doubted it anymore. Humanity was not simply returning. Humanity was rising. The stars had changed. Where once the Dominion ruled with arrogance and the Council held power with fear, now every world looked to the same shadows, the same silent fleet that moved like ghosts across the galaxy. Humanity had returned, and nothing could stand against them. The Dominion was broken. Its fleets destroyed, its lords dead, its worlds burning. In a single sweep, centuries of empire had fallen to ash. And yet, the humans did not conquer the ruins. They did not land soldiers. They did not raise banners. They only left silence. The Council tried to survive. Its chambers filled with shouting, with desperate plans, with promises of surrender. But no one listened anymore. The Council's words meant nothing. The smaller nations no longer obeyed. The great empires no longer trusted. The galaxy itself had turned against the very body that had once buried the truth. Because now the truth stood in the open. The humans had never been extinct. They had been waiting. And the waiting was over. Across forgotten systems, more ships emerged. 10 became 50. 50 became 100. The galaxy counted in fear as old war fleets, long hidden, rose from the dark. They were scarred, but alive. Silent, but watching. And everywhere they appeared, the same signal followed. We are the first. We are the oldest. And we remember. The younger species trembled. They had never known the first war. They had never struck against humanity. Yet they would live with the punishment for what their ancestors had done. But the humans did not burn the weak. Instead, they spoke again, their voices calm, heavy, and final. We do not seek your surrender. We do not seek your chains. We seek the truth. You will not forget again. It was not conquest. It was a sentence. The galaxy understood. The age of lies was finished. No more stories of extinction. No more erased histories. The humans had risen to make sure their name would never again be buried. Some empires knelt. They sent messages of loyalty, promises to follow humanity's lead. Others stayed silent, too afraid to speak, too broken to fight. A few, bitter and proud, swore to resist until the end. But none dared to fire again. Not after what they had seen. The Council fell. Its flags were torn down, its chambers abandoned. The oldest of the elder species, those who had once fought humanity, went into hiding, fearful that vengeance would finally come for them. And the smaller nations, for the first time in history, stood unshackled, their eyes turned not to the Dominion, not to the Council, but to the humans. The warships did not move to rule them. They only spread further, watching, waiting, reminding the stars that humanity was not gone. That it had never been gone. And then, one day, the largest of the awakened ships sent a single message that echoed across every star, across every fleet, across every listening ear in the galaxy. We are humanity. We are not extinct. We are eternal. And we will endure. The galaxy held its breath. Some wept in fear. Some whispered in hope. All knew the same truth. The age of empires was over. The age of lies was finished. Humanity had returned to the stars, and nothing would ever be the same again. In the silence that followed, as the warships drifted across the void like shadows of a forgotten age, the galaxy realized the final truth, the one it had tried to bury forever. Humans were not just another species. They were the first. They were the oldest. And now, They had come back to remind everyone what that meant.